Welcome to this episode of our book read-through of Elon Musk, Woke Messiah by Albion. We left off on this page. And it starts off with a quote from Elon Musk that reads, "There have to be reasons that you get up in the morning and you want to live. Why do you want to live? What's the point? What inspires you? What do you love about the future?" He definitely seems to embody that. Definitely the future part and the inspiring part. So I'm sure it's going to be different for everybody, but definitely one of those big questions that probably makes sense to ask ourselves. Below that is the LBM blur from 2070 that reads, "I often curse my human condition, crude and archaic state, so limited yet so proud, so determined yet so free, so full of contradictions because we cannot fully understand. My mind is weak and inefficient, my senses are dull. Evolution is painful, changing is hard and inconvenient. We gloat in the intellectual strides we have supposedly made, yet we have barely begun our journey. The challenges we will face will be harsh and cruel. We choose to ignore the inevitable agony waiting for us. Make me a god or a sap, nothing in between." And we're back to deep Albion. And in bold it reads, "My crude contradictions are hard and inconvenient, yet inevitable." So kind of just exploring the human condition a little there. Below that is a heading that says "On Mars." And it says, "Students are taught by the best teachers from around the world. With the technology of today, there is no reason for every student not to have access to not only the best information, but also the best teachers of that information." And then in parentheses it says, "Can we do this on Earth?" With the technology today, somewhere in the world is someone who teaches whatever, geometry better than anyone else. Is there any reason why all students should have access to that teaching? Obviously, you still need teachers to clarify information and to, dig deeper or ask harder questions or facilitate that learning. But as far as the initial teaching, seems like that's a no-brainer. Don't know why that's not a priority. Next page is a poem that reads, "A universe of a peculiar kind left for us to create in our mind. Atoms made up of things we cannot see. A tiny universe that affects you and me. A universe that is too small to find in the vastness of the human mind." Whoa. Yeah, so he's talked about scale a lot. But yeah, just the atomic world and how much that affects us, but how we're not really privy to necessarily how or to what extent. Interesting. Below that is the LBM blur from 2051 that reads, "The essence of people is rarely seen, hidden from sight, apparent in the subconscious moments between those we live in. It is in these moments that balance is invariably restored. Moments where positive people feel pain, they question their world. Moments where negative people feel pleasure, pleased by normal occurrences. Society promotes better and worse. Society promotes right and wrong. A detrimental idea when searching for knowledge and truth. To deny the universal balance in ourselves and in nature. No less pleasurable, only containing less truth and less honesty." So he's definitely touched on this equilibrium or balance before. In bold it reads, "The essence of the subconscious world promotes knowledge and truth." So we see people and what they say and how they act, but I guess he's talking about, I think, we don't know how they're necessarily perceiving the world, and if that's painful or pleasurable experience. And we could probably all relate to that to some degree. Below that, it says, if Elon was the darker stage of twilight, he would be Elon Dusk. Okay. There's been a few of these. Elon Musk, and was there Elon Musketeer maybe? Maybe a couple others. Is there a word for this kind of wordplay? I'm not sure. But I think he's trying to be silly and doing it. Next page. Next page, we have a Bertrand Russell quote that reads, the greatest challenge to any thinker is stating the problem in a way that will allow a solution. See, I think there is a lot of, it feels like there's a lot of parallel between Russell and Elon. Like I said, I would be real interested to see if he is a fan of Russell. A lot of what they said, they seem to comment similarly on the same subjects. This reminds me of the Elon quote where he's talking about you want to ask the right question. The hardest part is asking the right question, and then the solution will kind of follow. That kind of feels like this quote from Russell said in a slightly different way. Below that, we have Albion Blurred from 2066 that reads, heaven and hell always seem like the fantasies of men, the visions of men distraught, without hope, without mortal dreams, an escape of the mind and soul, a comforting haven. But why fantasize about hell? Why not only envision heaven? Perhaps heaven and hell are the visions of distraught rulers, unable to control the masses, unable to mold men's minds. They invent a higher power to captivate, a power armed with the divine power of the unknown, a power that cannot ultimately be proved or disproved, preying on the delicate hopes and fears of ignorant men. And in bold it reads, why not only envision heaven, a power armed with the divine power? Yeah, I think we've all heard some people suggest that religion may have been used in the past by governments to control the populace. And yeah, whether that's true or not is up for debate, I imagine. But this idea of heaven and hell and what people think about it and how they change their lives based on their thoughts about it, their thoughts and actions. Below that, in large letters, it says dream. Dream. So we've seen a lot of these big, positive, one-word kind of affirmations, I guess. Dream. Next page is a poem that reads, my size is super small, next to my dad who's super tall. But he is little just like me when he is standing by a tree. And that tree is itty bitty when it's in a great big city. Yeah. Size and just about everything else seems like it is relative to what we're comparing it to. You're huge compared to some things and itty bitty compared to other things. Just something to keep in mind, I guess. Next we have Albion Blur from 2048, and it reads, we are all the same. Differences are simply ignorant perceptions. We all have options to every choice we invariably encounter. We all choose what we believe is our best option. Our options differ in sheer number, differ in quality. That is all. There is nothing else, simple as that. We are no better or worse than others, only different. Only our options differ, only our surroundings that are distinct. It is not us who are boring or attractively unique. It is only our options. It is only our environment. Our options define us, crudely and incorrectly, but most definitely. That's a little confusing. In bold it says, we choose our surroundings crudely. So in the beginning it says we are all the same. And then he goes and says that we are only different. I think he means we're all the same. We're basically just reacting to our environment and trying to pick the best option. We're the same in that way. But obviously that leads to different results. And below that it says, "Hey Elon, what do you want for your kids?" And then in parentheses it says $1 trillion. I don't think they meant what do you want to sell your kids for? Or does he want his kids to be trillionaires? I think it's asking what he wants for his kids, like out of life, which I would be very interested to hear him answer his thoughts on that question. All right, we'll finish that episode, or this episode there. Join us for the next episode, and until then, have a great day.